Hello, everyone. On today's IRS tax refund update, we're going to take a look at the latest developments this tax season, including the backlog of unprocessed tax returns and amended returns that has started to increase over the last week, which in turn is going to start to lead to even more refund delays. Meanwhile, there's still those who are waiting on last year's tax refunds, so we'll recap on that. And those IRS notices and refund delay causes being experienced by our viewers and possible ways for assistance. Quickly recapping where things stand this tax season, as the IRS has now processed 89.6 million tax returns out of 90.1 million filed so far this year, which has them at a 99.5% processing rate, which is still ahead of this point last year. However, for the first time this year, refunds being sent out by the IRS are slightly down compared to this point last year, and that seems to be connected to the tax returns filed this year versus this time last year is in fact down, but also the tax return backlog is starting to grow. For another consecutive week, the tax return backlog many of you are part of has grown once again to 2.26 million, which has grown by nearly 200,000 returns from the week prior. And after you deduct the 455,000 unprocessed tax returns filed this year, that means everything else remaining are still tax returns filed last year, which is made up of both e-file and paper tax returns. For those of you waiting on paper returns, the backlog has grown by 85,000 returns in just 1 week, so we're starting to see this backlog starting to grow. For those of you waiting on amended returns, the backlog of those returns is now at 1.1 million, which means it has increased over 200,000 returns since our latest update. The IRS is advising taxpayers it can take over 5 months to process amended returns. However, we know this wait to be much longer, and there were some viewers who waited over 1 year to have their amended returns processed. It also should be noted amended returns are processed at a much slower rate than regular tax returns. In the last week, we've heard from many viewers report they are receiving one of several different types of 60-day notices from the IRS, two of which are seen here. This by far seems to be the most common notice being sent out by the IRS and has impacted many taxpayers who can expect to receive multiple of these in the mail before their tax return is finally processed and refund is issued. The main reason why we're seeing this notice being sent out has to do with the IRS needing to verify the income you entered on your tax return. In many cases, the IRS has still not processed the tax return of your employer or former employer, which is needed so the IRS can cross-reference the income you entered on your tax return versus what they reported. However, one way to speed this process along is we've seen several contact the IRS to confirm this is in fact the cause of their delay. From there, in multiple cases, the IRS requested the taxpayer submit a copy of the W-2 they received from their employer, which in turn they use to continue processing that tax return. So this is one step many of you impacted by this may want to consider. However, in some cases, we've seen the IRS send out IRS Notice CP05 or CP05A, which details the IRS needs more information pertaining to your income to continue processing your tax return. This is specifically sent out to those whose income entered does not match what the IRS received from a taxpayer's employer. So the IRS will request to submit copies of W-2s and pay stubs to support what you entered on your tax return, as it could also be an error with your employer's tax return instead. Now, if you're still waiting on your tax refund and claim the earned income tax credit, your tax return may be on hold due to audit. Just as we saw last year, the IRS has increased the audit rate for those returns claiming EITC after it was reported billions of improper EITC payments were paid out back in 2021. If you're part of this impacted group, you're supposed to receive this notice, the CP75. However, in numerous cases last year, the taxpayers who were supposed to receive this notice never did, and were not aware this was the cause of their refund delay. So if you're still waiting on your tax refund and have claimed EITC and have not received any notices in the mail, it is recommended you check your tax transcripts and identify any 971 codes with a recent date. If you have a 971 code listed with a date in the last several weeks and have not received a notice from the IRS, it is highly recommended you contact them for a duplicate notice to be sent. You will need this notice to see exactly what documentation you must send to the IRS to satisfy the audit so your return and refund can be processed. For those of you still looking for help, especially early filers this year, or those still waiting on their tax refunds from last year who have not done so already, if you're not getting any help by speaking to an IRS phone representative, it is advised for you to reach out to the Taxpayer Advocate service for additional assistance, including opening a case in regards to your outstanding refund, especially if you're experiencing financial hardship as a result. To get in contact with the Taxpayer Advocate service, you will want to visit their website at taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov, where you can reach either the main TAS line or a located local office near you. We've had many viewers last year who were able to get their refund issue resolved by reaching out to the Taxpayer Advocate and opening a case. Let us know in the comment section below about your ongoing tax refund issue. In the meantime, we'll keep monitoring the situation for further developments, so make sure to click on the thumbs up and subscribe button below for future updates on this channel, and thanks for watching.